The Bad Guys is the latest film from Universal Pictures and DreamWorks. It's based on the blockbuster book series by Aussie author Aaron Blabey, stars Sam Rockwell, Awkwafina, Anthony Ramos, Marc Maron, Craig Robinson, Zazie Beetz and Richard Ayoade. It's directed by Pierre Perifel and opens in Australian cinemas on March 31st, 2022. Ahead of the release of The Bad Guys, thanks to the incredible team over at Universal and DreamWorks, I was lucky enough to chat with some of the cast and crew of the film. Before we get into this, don't forget to hit that like button down below. It does wonders in getting my content out there. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to keep up to date with all my content. At that, enjoy the interview. Hey, I'm Dave, calling in from Australia this morning. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you.
Thanks, buddy. Nice to see you.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
What's up, Dave? Dave from Down Under, baby. What's good?
Hey, Dave.
I had a chance to see the movie yesterday. It is fantastic. I loved it. It is cool. It is slick. I think it's one of the coolest animated movies perhaps ever. I loved it, and it's an absolute pleasure to speak with you. Pierre, this movie has such a great concept. What drew you to the story of The Bad Guys?
I think the first thing was like Aaron Blabey's first book. You know, that cover that he came up with, and it was so strikingly, unique, and the concept of it was so strong. The idea of these 5 legendary criminals putting up, being in those suits, on that cover in front of a lineup was reminiscing of Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, And that's the first thing I saw, and it just immediately caught me. It was, I know what to do with this, kind of thing. And we're gonna do a Tarantino movie for children. It ended up not being a Tarantino movie for children, but it was the beginning of it. And then we ended up, of course, deriving into the heist genre. The script was great, super fun, really captured the tone of The Bad Guys. And so, I got hooked really quickly, just with that. It was really fitting my influences and my universe, my graphic universe.
To all the talent, what is it that drew you to your characters, and how do you identify with them?
Well, I think that they were drawn to me. It seems to me that they reached out to me because I seemed to somehow fit this guy. And here I thought I had evolved as a person, and that I was not the cranky, sort of irritable, insecure guy I used to be, but I had to reach back and do a little method work with the younger version of myself that I keep hidden inside.
Right. How fun was that? To be able to grab onto that.
Great, sure, it was great, because the great thing about the process, even though it took a long time, a couple of good things. DreamWorks as a studio is literally an 8-minute drive from my house. So I always, even during COVID, I could go over there and record pretty safely, go into the basement, because you record in almost like a bunker. But over time, these characters evolved, the story evolved, and working with the actors and with the animators. So we both fed each other. When they'd come up with something, I would see it, and then they'd see how I was doing it, and we kind of, it was symbiotic.
He's a fun character, man. Like, it's like one of those things. Number one, like in animated movies, like you can just almost do whatever you want. It was so much fun having the opportunity to create this guy, because he's so dynamic. Like, he's like, 1 minute he's ready to go at it. The next minute he's like cracking a joke. The next minute he's farting. The next minute he's like he's so naive. He's sweet, but he's like a terror, and he just has all of these different colors that were really fun to play with.
What drew me was I went to DreamWorks and I saw a presentation of what the vision was for the movie. I met the director and producers, and they just knew they had this beautiful vision, and they were funny, and we talked about it, and I could see it right away. I saw what they wanted to do, so I was glad to be a part, and I couldn't wait. And I relate to the character somewhat. I'm a sensitive dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big sensitive guy with some humor, some personality, and chill. So it's really my life. The only thing I don't do is steal.
Yeah, right. This film has a really fantastic ensemble of cast and characters. You are all, of course, no stranger to these big ensemble pieces. What is it that draws you to projects like this?
It's really dope to be in an ensemble. It's really cool to be in an ensemble full of actors that you are like a fan of as well. You're like, yo, I saw them in that, or I love this person's work. I can't believe I'm a part of this group. And I think ensemble pieces are fun because you're never alone doing a movie, right? Like there's hundreds of people on the crew, but it's always nice when, your cast as well. You have there's a healthy number of people in your cast, and everyone's just coming together to make this one thing that feels special. But I was saying it's kind of weird too when, and sometimes in these movies you don't meet your cast members until like later on. You don't really get to record with them. Like the first time we all got together was on like a Zoom where we did a read-through, and that was so much fun. I was like, damn, I can't wait to meet them.
Well, once I heard what the cast was, that was icing on the cake. That sealed the deal, really. But it's like being a part of a team, a strong, good team that everybody knows what they're doing. It's wonderful. It's one of the reasons you get into acting. So it was a no-brainer for me. This was a blast.
Well, I was just excited to be part of it. When I was told who else was in it, I'm like, are you sure you want me? So, but working with, I didn't get to work directly with them, but seeing the movie and seeing how funny Anthony was, oh my God, that fish is hilarious. And I know Craig, I've known Craig for years. So knowing that Craig Robinson's in it, that's always going to be funny. The people that were really hired to be funny were hilarious. And then Sam, who I kind of knew, he's a great actor and he was real smooth. He was a great kind of straight man for the whole crew. So once I found out who was in it, I was thrilled.
This movie is a love letter to great heist capers and crime flicks. Could you all tell me a little bit about what you drew on to help shape your performances and your characters? And in Pierre's case, what did you draw on to help inspire and shape the film, both narratively and technically?
Yeah, I started pickpocketing people. I couldn't. It was a pandemic. You couldn't get close to anybody. Well, you know what? The Pierre, director, and Damon, producer, we were on Zoom calls and we were like cracking jokes and going back and forth. So that's really how the character developed for me as far as that. But like I said, a lot of the innate qualities he has, I had as well.
I mean, major, like in terms of narration, in terms of that kind of genre dubbing. Of course, The Sting was one. We have all the Ocean series. The Gary Cheese movies, Snatch specifically, and then Lock, Stock, of course, and of course Baby Driver, and some more action-driven type of movies like Mission Impossible. Those movies kind of gravitated around, clearly around the concept of the bad guys and where we wanted to take it. Obviously, Quentin Tarantino and his outrageously, fun and violent universe. In terms of visuals too, by the way, a lot of my own influences from growing up in France, being at that convergence of the French, comic book, graphic novel scene, and cinema culture and animation culture, and the Japanese one as well. The designs are very, very much influenced by Toriyama's universe, which is, Dragon Ball's universe for the characters, and Miyazaki's Lupin and Sherlock Hound, of course. Animation is very much influenced by those, also by Ernest and Celestine. So this is very French-Japanese, but also a lot of my own influences from working in the US for so long. So it's kind of a melting pot of so many things, and it kind of summarizes a little bit everything that could just make this movie what it is now.
Of course, the original books are quite simplistic. Pierre, what was your process of taking this small premise and essentially expanding it into this huge action adventure?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think the idea, what I love about animation is you can go anywhere. And I love when movies are like, first of all, I love action films, but I really love, making sure that the scale of the film gives is worth seeing on a big screen, and so I wanted something big, something that was really epic in a way, which that movie kind of goes towards, or definitely goes towards, in a kind of a ludicrous way, and therefore the books were almost too simplistic in their stylization of the characters and the world. With just a simple line and those gray tones that Aaron would do. So we had to expand on that. We had to really create a world around it that was supporting such a much bigger scale type of, even though the books go crazy afterwards. But like when we started, it was just a few books, well, not as many. The ideas were really just having a visual environment that would carry such a big adventure. And expand from those books. And then in terms of story itself, we used few elements from the first 4 books, but really wanted to just tell the story, the evolution of Wolf throughout our film, making sure we had an emotional anchor to it. The book starts when Wolf says we're going to go bad, but really wanted to explore what came before that and what led him to this decision. So we took liberties, definitely. But Aaron Blabey, the author of the book, was with us the whole time. He knew he was following us. He knew where we were going, and we had his blessing throughout.
All of the characters here get some fantastic moments and great one-liners. Did you all get the opportunity to do a little bit of ad-libbing, playing around with the characters, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Pierre was really cool about doing variations of different lines too, or saying like, we can just make something up here, and then on top of that, like, there's Mr. Piranha has this moment where he sings this song at this gallery that wasn't even in the script,
Wow.
He and Damon just came up to me one day before we started our session recording, and they were like, "Yo, look, we have this idea," and I was like, "All right, hit me." They're like, "We think Mr. Piranha should sing this like mad, huge song." And I was like, all right, let's go.
It's hard to say how much, but there were some improvised moments, but those moments usually came from whatever the script was, and then they would flip into something else at some point because you're repeating it and trying to get the emotion of it, and then something else comes. So it was a lot of, divine intervention, if you would. But a lot of improv, and just, having a great script to start off with.
I think most of it was scripted, but there were times, though, I don't know in watching the movie specifically because we were recording over such a long period of time, there were times where me and Sam would we would actually work together in the studio, which is not necessarily that common with animated. We did several sessions together that were pretty loose. So I think they used some of that. There was certainly repetition around the lines and trying to get the emotional component going. But I don't believe there was a ton of improv that made it into the movie, maybe a bit.
All of you have done voice work prior to this movie. Do you approach a vocal performance differently than a stage performance or a live action film? And I guess what lessons have you learned in your own craft from voice acting?
Voice is different just because there's a lot of freedom that comes with it. You might have to say something silly on camera, but you got to be more serious about it, and let it come off. But behind the mic, you can you can get as goofy faced or whatever as you want because they're doing a character like that. So the character takes care of whatever serious face you got when you see it, and then my voice, I can jump around, run around, whatever it takes to get that energy right.
Well, so much of what I do now, like certainly with the podcast, I know how to be on a microphone. I know how to read copy. I know how to read a script. But then I think what's helpful about it is that even doing this kind of press stuff that I'm doing now, there's a lot of prompter work, which my first job in television was a prompter job. So it comes right back to you, so all these skills kind of, fold in and they help. But actually being able to sort of read the script, as just using your voice and then kind of put the emotion in it, that was sort of a lesson, in the process of doing animation was, it's easy to do a character, to do the voice and just do it like that. But to kind of get into it and, engage and put some emotion into it because in your mind you think you're doing that, but to actually connect the voice to the emotion, that was a skill that I don't know that I had as well as I do now.
And one final question here. What are you all hoping that audiences will take away from The Bad Guys?
I hope audiences take away, at least what I took away from doing the film was like, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Like the title's The Bad Guys, but they, don't judge a book by its cover, and I hope people just have the most amazing time watching it because the movie is thrilling. It's thrilling. It's funny. It's action-packed. It's got all the ingredients for a good night out at the theater or a good night with the family and watching it at home.
Friendship. Let's be friends again. Let's love. Let's try not to hurt each other's feelings. So I guess it's all about respect.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you all today. All the best with it again, and thanks for your time. I've really appreciated it today. Take care.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Take care, man.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.
Once again, The Bad Guys opens in Australian cinemas on March 31st, 2022, in the US on April 22nd, and in the UK on April 1st. Thanks again to the wonderful teams over at Universal and DreamWorks for making these interview opportunities a possibility. Thanks to the incredible talent for taking some time to chat with me, and thanks to everybody out there for watching. I hope you enjoyed the movie. Until next time, take it easy. Hey everyone, if you haven't yet, smash that big old subscribe button up on your screen to keep up to date with all my content, and hit that like button down below. Also, don't forget to check me out on social media, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon for as little as $1 a month for exclusive videos, early access content, and to get your name up on the screen. Thanks again for watching.